Sony, Sony, Sony. Whatever happened to this is for the players? So in a nutshell, guys, and later on in this video, said nutshell will actually branch into the larger topic that I want to actually talk about in this video. So let's stop talking about it and let's get into it. Basically, Bethesda has announced that the PlayStation 4 base and the PlayStation 4 Pro console going forward will not be receiving mod support for Fallout 4 and the remaster edition of Skyrim. So yeah, pretty disappointing stuff, and to be honest, Sony, I'm not really feeling the love for the players on this one. Now, to elaborate, Bethesda went into a little bit more detail. They didn't get into the nitty-gritty, but they basically laid the blame at Sony's doorstep for mod support not coming to the PlayStation 4. And they basically said that, look, we've been working with Sony for the past few months, but unfortunately communication's broken down and we're hitting a brick wall, and the PlayStation 4 will not be receiving mod support. So much for this is for the player, especially considering the competition Microsoft with the Xbox One is already supporting mods for Fallout 4 and have stated they will be supporting mods for the Skyrim Remastered Edition. Now, Sony haven't come out and given us a clear-cut reason as to why mods will not be coming to the console, but I think we can probably put it down to Sony's outdated policies. And I think certainly in the past, and I think even looking at it now on Sony's side with their stance on the Bethesda mods, that consoles are still these really walled off ecosystems where they don't interact with each other's consoles, they don't interact as much with the PC, and I know Microsoft's breaking down the walls a little bit with the crossplay and the Play Now Anywhere feature, but with especially Sony, it's still, in comparison to Microsoft and PC, it's still very walled off. And I think letting mods onto a console, I guess somewhere, even policies aside, is kind of like opening Pandora's box, I guess, for Microsoft and Sony. Now, props to Microsoft for doing it, fantastic stuff. But I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I can kind of understand why Sony would be a little bit hesitant to jump on this. Because I guess if you offer mods for one game, then how many other games are you going to have to offer mod support to? And where does it stop? By no means am I giving them a pass. As I said before, I think they should be offering the mod support just like Microsoft. Get with the times, Sony. Take your head out of the sand. Now, this leads me to the much larger topic of the video that I want to talk about, and it's something that I've been witnessing online and a lot of other people debating for a while, quite a while actually now. And I've been starting to get my own vibe for this over the last probably maybe month and a half to 2 months as well. And that is, a lot of people are claiming or suggesting that Sony has become anti-consumer, which personally, I don't think that's the case. To be anti-consumer, you have to be pretty over the top. I mean, we're talking DRM levels of Microsoft bullshit to be anti-consumer. Now, for me personally, I'd probably say they're probably becoming a little bit arrogant maybe. They're probably forgetting about the gamer, they're forgetting about the consumer, and they're not necessarily doing anything to entice or attract new gamers. They've lost touch with the gamers a little bit. Now, to point a few of these slip-ups out and to, I guess, put in perspective what I'm talking about, and what a lot of other people are kind of feeling and talking about as well, is most recently the announcement that we will not be receiving mod support on the PlayStation 4, at least for Bethesda games anyway. That's not to say we won't get mod support for other games down the line. Another very valid point to make is Sony's decision to raise the price of PSN subscriptions. So that one stings a little bit. And another big one that I've seen floating around a lot recently, and it has been around for a while, and that is the fact that we still haven't got backwards compatibility on the PS4 for previous gen games. When you know, on the other side of the fence, Microsoft have been offering that for a while now. And yes, I know they've got their digital streaming service, which is a way for you to get access to those older games, but it's not free, is it? You know, you still got to pay. Now, there's actually a laundry list you can find online talking about Sony's slip-ups and mistakes and anti-consumer mistakes they've made over the last 18 months to 2 years. And I'm not going to dive into them because, quite frankly, I think a lot of them are just bullshit and it's people just being nitpicky. However, I do think there's an overall picture forming around Sony, and that's people in general are just starting to jump on the bandwagon of, well, maybe Sony are kind of slowly putting their head back up their ass again. And to be completely honest, I think they're running the same risk that Microsoft did at the beginning of the generation with all the DRM bullshit and how this bad image and reputation just surrounded them, and they're still trying to shake it off. Now, yes, granted, that was an extreme case and a massive turnaround for Microsoft, a negative turnaround. And it's not going to happen that quickly with Sony, but I guarantee these little bits and pieces, they all slowly add up and people start talking like me and you online to each other, and it builds a bad image for them, and it's going to affect their sales. And you know what? It's all on them. Rightfully so if it builds them a bad image. We're just calling the bullshit out as it unfolds in front of us. And you know what? Rightfully so, because if we buy a system, I think we deserve the best possible experience from that system, and we won't get it unless we ask for it. And you know what? History has shown that both Sony and Microsoft, unless you keep them in check, they do slide back into their old ways of, you know, things like DRM and getting a little bit arrogant. And at the end of the day, only giving what they absolutely have to give. And you can see that. You can see that in the previous generation. I mean, look at Sony when they got ahead of themselves and released an absolute overpriced brick with the PS3. You know, they're arrogant enough to even say that, you know what, go out and get a second job so you can afford this PlayStation console. And everyone's like, whoa, hang on. We can't afford this. We're going with the Xbox 360. And that entire generation, Sony had to play catch up because of that one slip up. And we've just seen the same thing again with the Xbox One and the whole DRM crap. Bang, big negative bombshell. Everybody said, whoa, hang on, no thank you. And now Microsoft's playing catch up with the PlayStation 4. And I think we're seeing the roles reverse again with Sony. Sure, it's not happening fast, but I think it's definitely happening slowly and surely. I think at the end of the day, it's up to us to call out the bullshit as we see it and demand better from both Sony and Microsoft, because they've shown in the past that unless you put your foot down, they're just going to go off and do their own little thing. And while it's not necessarily anti-consumer most of the time, it's certainly not positive for the gamer. Alright guys, remember down below in the comments to leave your own opinion. Do you think Sony's getting a little bit arrogant again and sticking their ass up their heads? Do you think they're becoming anti-consumer? Chime in below and let me know, I'd love to hear. As always guys, if you've liked this video, smash that thumbs up, hit that sub button. I'm Sully and we'll talk in the next video.